Welcome to Mediumship Sparks, where we connect more deeply with spirit and source and follow the sparks of insight and inspiration that bring us greater awareness, healing, and just more flow into our lives. I'm Noelle Dean, intuitive medium, licensed therapist, and your host. A quick note before we begin: this podcast is for educational purposes only and provides general information. It is not medical or psychological advice and is not a substitute for care from a licensed health professional. I'm so grateful we get to step into this. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Mediumship Sparks. I'm Noelle, your host. What really struck me and inspired me, intuitive hits, a long time ago. I saw the 2020 episode interviewing Michael Jackson. I remember he was sitting on his stage and Michael was talking about how he received songs. It sounded like he was describing downloads. And he made a joke saying, I figure if I don't receive that song and use it, it's going to go to Prince. It sounded like he was kidding, but I've heard that kind of reference before. I was listening to the book on Audible, and the author was talking about a very specific book she got a download about that she was going to write. But life got busy, and a couple of years later, she still hadn't written it. And then she met another writer who was doing almost the exact same book that she had described. And she looked at it like that, I don't want to say download, but the visual I'm getting is like this cloud of info or energy moved because it wasn't being expressed. She had an opportunity, and not like she blew it, but the book wanted to be birthed. So it went to the next available mother who would do that. I was sitting with the idea, we get intuitive hits. And sometimes we follow them and sometimes we don't. I try genuinely to live by my intuition. I think this, my grandmother's saying that 92.5% of the time, I follow my intuitive hits. I would agree with that. Now, maybe just sit with me on the concept of this. And remember, everything I share is a perspective. This just felt like something to sit with. So let's say you get an intuitive hit and you choose to follow it. It leads to that next step, whatever that is. And that leads to maybe the next intuitive hit. Maybe it's as simple as go back and get your jacket. And then the time, if you're going to leave, I'm seeing a visual of leaving in your car and you have to go back in the house to get a jacket. And then you grab it, go back to your car. Maybe you missed a car accident or something. A lot of times when we're late or something comes up, there's a reason that it came up. So maybe it's you're going to be cold later and it's not even anything like big or serious. But maybe if you ignore that, maybe the timing of your trip is going to be slightly different. Maybe your mood, because now you're going to be cold, might be a bit different. A ripple effect, right? Everything that we choose has a ripple effect, leads to the next action. And I was just sitting with the idea of, now we get intuitive hits. And normally I think of it like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do now, or this is what I'm supposed to do next. That's why I'm getting it. I don't think to check in with myself as a pendulum or energy test, should I follow this intuitive hit? It just flows like, oh, thank you. Let me go do that now. I'm not suggesting to not do that, or I'm not going to do that. But what if we sat with, okay, that's an option. The thing you're showing me, the intuitive hit I'm getting right now, that's one option. Maybe there are 4 other options of what I can do in this kind of situation. And maybe I want to sit with which one really feels right to me. It's nice to remember that we have options. I don't always remember that naturally. It is something I have to kind of train myself continually to remember. But there's something about this that feels a bit deeper. Relationship opportunities or work opportunities. Meeting somebody and like the timing wasn't right. It didn't feel quite right. Was it a missed opportunity? We could say, no, it wasn't right at that time. So it just wasn't right. Even if it would have been right 6 months earlier or 6 months later, that would have been a different story. Okay. So my grandmothers are going to come in and help improve this. So one of them is saying, let's say you're on the playground And they're showing that thing. I want to say I don't know what it's called. It's a big round thing that has bars and you can like jump on it and it just spins. It's flat and round. I don't know if they still offer these at playgrounds, but anyway, they're showing one of those. And then they're also showing like a swing set with a slide. And maybe these are equal opportunities where you're going to play and then who you end up playing with. Maybe you feel more drawn to one, but maybe you sit with it for a moment and you realize you're just drawn to do something like play with other kids. And then you get to choose. And that feels like it comes more from you than from, let's say, divine guidance. Now, as I'm sitting with that thought, I'm feeling aware. And this is something that has been occurring to me a couple of times recently, is that in my check-in process, using my intuition to get a yes and no to questions and then getting more information at times, but really always asking, it's occurred to me that I have really edged myself out of that equation. Not completely, but maybe it's a sign of lack of self-trust, which is one of my many lessons I'm here to learn in this life. And it's safer, it seems, to ask the universe, what really is the right thing for me to do? What is for the highest good of all? And I still really believe in living that way. I really do want to do what's for the highest good of all. And I don't pretend that I know what that is. And I like that. That feels in many ways quite right to me. And I'm getting this information. So this isn't just me pondering, but without me included in the equation, they're using the word spaceless. When I'm asking what that means, what I'm seeing is that it's like the essence of my own soul isn't part of that space. I'm following directions. I'm being obedient. I'm getting a big yes to that. And this is just me saying this. I've been really working on my old pattern of people pleasing, the people pleaser in me that doesn't want people to get upset with me or wants to do everything right for everybody. But something has felt off lately. Like I've just been trying to be obedient. And I've really left myself out of the mix. Can you relate to this? Our higher power, or however we define source energy, or even our loved ones who are trying to guide us. I mean, there's so much magic in all of that. Like asking for a solution to a problem and something like presto pops in your head and you're like, oh my goodness, I never would have thought of that. That's perfect. It considers everybody's needs. I don't feel overcompromised by it. Thank you, universe. Thank you, source. Thank you, grandma. Thank you, higher self. Thank you, guides. Whoever you feel supported you with that information. That's so great. I love that. My goal has been to live in the flow. And to me, that's how you live in the flow, is that you ask and you receive the information and you choose that. Because if you're asking to know what truly is for the highest good of all involved, and they're telling you, why would you choose anything else? But this feels like a slightly different take on that. I'm still committed to living that way, but it feels like there's more room to have more of my own self-expression in some ways that I know I haven't been. And I don't think I can even put my finger on it in this moment. But something clearly feels a little bit off to me. And as I've been sitting with it, it feels like it's this. What do you think, Mama? She's saying, don't take it so personally. She's saying, don't follow the heart of others. Follow the heart of yourselves. Oh, she's giving us all a bit of advice. And when your true heart is to please your own pure and perfect nature, which is part of source and the universe's energy, you will make the right choice. Thank you. And she's giving me a visual. This is interesting. So imagine that when I'll just keep using myself as an example, when I'm asking, hey, please show me what is for the highest good of all, that is definitely me looking to the outside, like above, around. But the way she just showed that was like looking inward. not just inward, but how she showed that. Man, I love messages. They're always so much richer than we might think. So how she showed it was when I go to ground, I often start with this beam of white light that goes through the core of my body and down into the earth. And she showed checking in with that core. And even as I'm saying that, I'm like, it's in my body. I could say it's from source, but what I'm getting at is that it's a combination. It's me embracing that and also that part of myself that's able to connect in that way. So it's more of a third party interaction, not a direct, I'm trying to be obedient, just tell me what to do. Third party was used in a way we don't normally use it, but that there were three parties involved, like everybody else who's affected, source, and me. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. She doesn't have anything else she wants to add to that. Grandma, do you have anything you want to say about that? She says, I think if you follow your heart, you can't be wrong. You can't be on the wrong or a bad path. However, when you ask source for information, you don't need to follow, but to consider it a piece of information, like a data point. And you could even ask, and I've never done this, it would never even occur to me to ask, but you can ask, please show me a few options when you're looking for a way to problem solve something. And then she's showing doing that and then using our own heart or self to discern. There's a woman I'm talking with how to be more connected with ourselves. And she tends to put both of her hands, one over the other, in her like heart chakra area. And when she does that, she feels very connected to her soul self and source. And she comes from a very connected, grounded place in making any decisions when she is connecting in that kind of way. And it's been a bit contagious. I'm finding that when I do that, I feel like I feel like I'm embracing myself a bit. That feels nice, actually. And it's emphasizing this inward, like that core. And it's also close to my heart. And that feels like a nice place to connect from and to make decisions from. I want to cringe. But to those of us that maybe are still trying to be a good girl or a good boy and follow directions, this feels what I'm seeing. It's about maturing and it's an upgrade for us. Yeah, I like that. This feels very emotional to me, although I'm going to not cry. I don't want to keep living like I'm the liability. And please, God, source, universe, tell me what to do because I'm just so desperate to have a good answer. That feels a little too self deprecating to me at this point. And if you're someone who has made some creative decisions in your life that you could look back and feel like you've made grave errors in judgment and mistakes, like I have, and you have lots of evidence for why you can't or shouldn't be trusted. And let's outsource all of this information, all of this problem solving, all of these decisions to someone else who's more qualified, more connected. Just as I say that, I'm like, oh shit, that brings up the people and even organizations that I have given that power over to and stopped doing that a while back. But in some ways, I was just doing it to a more focused, trustworthy source, not a person who has their own agenda and likely a negative, self serving one for them. But maybe this is time to reclaim a piece of our own goodness and to learn to trust who we are inside and that it doesn't have to come from outside of us to know that it's based in goodness and truth and trustworthiness. And there feels like something in this about a piece of like self-love, that even if you do your best to make a decision and it seems like you stepped into a freaking hurricane, and if only you had asked source, I don't know, your mother, your best friend, a mentor, maybe you wouldn't have made that choice. But what's coming to me is, and so what? I bet you learned some really good rules for life. This is what they're showing me that would give you more direction when life seems aimless or directionless. Yeah. Maybe it's an opportunity to look inward despite having excuses for why you can't or shouldn't be trusted. What's coming to me is that developing that relationship with your whole being, your whole self, is worth trying for. And then they're showing a visual of having self-compassion after, like genuine compassion for yourself. Oh, no, I get why I would have chosen that. I'm still feeling a bit wounded in this area, and it would have seemed like it would hurt more, or it would hurt this other person whose feelings I worry about hurting, to make a different choice. But I want to stand by what felt right to me in that moment. Me. This is my life. I'm here to run it with all the information from source. But I'm also here to do my part to participate in my life more fully in the maturation process of becoming a wider and more expansive adult. Yeah. I like that. I like that for you. And I like that for me too. So let me know what you think. Where are you in this process? Do you feel like you can let go of trying to be obedient or the good person, like the good girl, and bring yourself more in the mix? Now they're showing like a measuring cup with a stirrer, and you're still living within this beautiful container, they're saying. But they show you, this is adorable. So imagine you're seeing a miniature version of yourself and somebody stirring this measuring cup filled with fluid, and you're just bobbing up because you float. And somebody is sharing that life is an adventure. You're supposed to make mistakes and learn to enjoy the process of learning from that process and in that process of doing so. And I just want to give a plug to our spiritual teams, those who have crossed that we've known in this life, and those ancestors that we've never known in this life, but certainly know us and follow their lineage and watch out for us, and our angels, guides, teachers, and whoever else that we each connect with, that we are, the word conglomerate just came through. Really? Conglomeration? Whatever that word is. We're like a whole, this is what they're saying. We're like a whole busy organization in and of ourselves. We came with a purpose. We came with support. We came with tools. We came with things we want to resolve. We came with karmic things to rebalance for ourselves and with the relationships that we've chosen to have that with in this lifetime. It's a lot. They're saying it's like a busy, hectic schedule to fit it all in. And they're saying it's beautiful and awesome to reach out. And remember that you are supposed to be the driver. As they show that, I see a person driving a car, but then I'm seeing a passenger, and it's like those bench seats that cars used to have, like I think in the 70s and pre-70s, where there was no console in the middle and even really have seatbelts. You've got your co-pilot, but you're the one driving. And they're showing a sense of relaxation and peace. And I'm seeing an enthusiasm for some adventure in the person who's driving this in this visual. And they're saying it's an adventure worth having, which is why you came here in the first place. So enjoy! Exclamation mark. Thank you. Yeah. So if this episode inspires you and you want to share anything about it, please email me, connectingwithnoelle@gmail.com. It's Noelle. Or mediumshipsparkspodcast@gmail.com. I really would like to hear how your journey's going, especially in this area. And let me know what you think of the podcast and this episode. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have good plans for yourself for the holidays. And if you're lonely for somebody who's not in a body anymore, I hope you think of them and feel them in your space and you get to enjoy their company. I'm betting they would love that. And so would you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you. Take care. Thanks for spending this time with me on Mediumship Sparks. If this episode resonated with you, please like it, subscribe, rate, and certainly share it with somebody else who could benefit. If you're interested in any support I might be able to provide as you navigate your spiritual path, please feel free to check out my offerings at connectingwithnoelle.com and reach out at mediumshipsparkspodcast@gmail.com. Take good care of yourself, and I'll look forward to being with you again soon.